Hello, this is Pastor Manning, welcoming you once again to the Beacon of Hope podcast. This is our 20th episode in a series entitled Side Notes, Thoughts from a Pastor's Study. Today we come to 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 10, and I want to speak to you about these two words out of that verse, thoughts actually from that verse. Words are not in the verse, but I want to talk to you about maintenance and about progress. 2 Corinthians 8 verse 10 reads this way. It says, "And herein I give my advice, for this is expedient for you, who have begun before not only to do, but also to be forward a year ago." This chapter, 2 Corinthians 8, is a commendation of the Macedonian churches that had, from a impoverished and a weak situation, been very instrumental in being generous and giving towards God's work. They had helped to supply the needs of other saints who were in need. They had helped to supply needs so that missions endeavors could go out to begin new works, that new churches could be established, that the gospel could be taken into further places in the world. But they had done this though they were a people who were themselves afflicted and poor people. As the Spirit of God had Paul to write to them, he gave them this admonition. He said, "I give this advice. It's expedient for you." Then he says, "For those who have begun before, not only to do." Now that's the maintenance. He said, in other words, don't lose any ground. Keep busy with what you are doing and stand your ground. He said not only to do, but to be forward a year ago. What that means is that they are to be making progress. And I thought about that and how applicable it is in so many areas of our life. First, there's the maintenance. What ground we have gained that is right and proper ground in our life. Maybe we've learned some things. Maybe we've adopted certain things in our life which are good habits and helpful and healthful habits. We've got to be careful to maintain. It's within each of our nature to allow things to degrade and slip away. And so we need to maintain, not lose the ground that we've made. We need to keep up on things and keep up with what we've done thus far. But then we need to progress. We need to use that place that we've maintained as a stepping stone to greater and better things. I'm not speaking here so much about getting busier all the time. Obviously, there's many problems with thinking that way, equating sheer busyness with progress. But not the least of the problems are if we just keep adding busyness to busyness, there's a limitation of what we can do. Second of all, busyness just to be busy does not speak of quality or investment of our life. There are any number of people who are busy, but they don't do anything well. To be forward a year ago points to actual progress, not just quantitatively, but qualitatively. And that's what we should be doing. We should keep the ground that we've gained. We shouldn't go back and regress. We don't want to become like it speaks of in another part in the Bible where it says, "For at what time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not strong meat." These were people who had not maintained. At one point, they were at a level to be teachers. At one point, they were mature in the things of the Lord, described as those who could handle strong meat. But then they had regressed. They had not maintained. They had not stayed at what they were doing. And so God's design is not only that we maintain, but then also that we progress, that we use our point of maintenance as a point of strength and growth to where we can take another step and go forward for the Lord. let's never be satisfied with the mediocrity of stagnation. But let's be actively maintaining, realizing decay is a part of our nature and corruption is part of our nature. Let's be actively maintaining, and let's be looking for ways to progress. Practically speaking, how could you progress? In what areas in your life could you progress? What maybe has already been on your mind to progress in? Okay, then make clear what you want to get done. Make clear what progress you want to see. Do you have a clear idea? Okay, I want to do this. All right, now, what steps does it take to get from where you are to where you need to go? And if you don't know those steps, then find somebody who either is or has been where you want to go. And by has been, I don't mean they were there and then slipped away from it. I mean they were there and maybe have gone even beyond that. Find somebody, find some information on it, and find out the facts of how you need to get from where you are to where it is you think that you should be next. To progress, not only to maintain, not only to do, but to be forward a year ago. And let's look for long-term growth and strength in our lives. That's something for us to put into practice. I hope the Lord blesses you on this day.